have different concerns, and it's helped me to collate the inputs that I gather here. So I actually prefer coming here and spending some time. But of course, today is a bit of a challenge because of my health. The question which you've asked is probably the question every business leader has in his mind. I know my business is doing all right, but yet I don't know when a challenge externally will come. I'm doing good exports, but I don't know when a tariff can land on me, and I have no control over it. Similarly, the three large items which we import, paying foreign exchange, are all fluctuating, whether it is your crude, which luckily we have the capacity to refine, but the crude, not just the price of crude which keeps going up, but also the insurance cover and the risk which insurance uh, demands to get your vessel going there and to get your vessel filled up and brought back. So, price is a challenge. Foreign exchange reserve will have to be adequately kept for meeting these demands, growing demands. And growing demand is good because a growing economy requires these critical inputs. So it's the same thing as a business house, which will have these considerations before them, but for many of them, they don't have a say. They don't have a handle. So India's challenge is very similar. But of course, the India's comfort is that you have a large domestic market, which is good enough with the consumption going up. But you still have a lot more intermediary and raw material products which you have to import. And that import is now under severe strain. So that's the challenge. And monsoon every year is a challenge for any finance minister. How will it work out? Will it be sufficient? Or is it going to be patchy, that some areas are going to be dry and some others are going to have excessive rain? That's a every year concern. But this year, because of the El Nino, I think we are preparing for not so good a monsoon. Of course, we have enough buffer stocks. Since last year, we've maintained, so there shouldn't be a food shortage. But for farmers, it'll have an impact because this year his income will be stressed out. So I think broadly, I'm not saying anything that you don't know, but these are the challenges. And I'm not sure how much of a provisioning can you make. Just for that one example of fertilizer import, we had during the budget very clearly said to ourselves that the Kharif we are sufficiently endowed with supplies of fertilizer so we can manage the Kharif. And we need money for tendering out for fertilizer that you may require for the Rabi, for which actually the supplies will start in November. Between the day of the budget and today, they've been at least 3 different major fluctuations. Some countries which do not want to get into the market, which are traditional suppliers, are no longer supplying. They want to stock it up for themselves. And there was fear that we are going to have short supply because those who have gone out are depleting the pool. But then came the news of China coming back, who had not been in the market for almost a year. So the supply was that shortage which people thought was offset. So 1 week you have a challenge, the next week that challenge is addressed, but newer challenges come up. So it's being ready for every such exigency.
the FMM, you know, this is the finest moment of capitalism. Last week we have seen listing of SpaceX and creation of a trillionaire. So now the new buzzword in the world cap. I'll restrict myself to the subject I know, that is capital market. So this is the finest moment of capitalism, and farms and factories, they produce incomes for our workers and people at large. But capital markets produce wealth, which can create much bigger factories and much bigger possibilities. I mean, if you see SpaceX, it's a based on the possibility of whatever can be done in space. So it's a very powerful creating mechanism, the stock market, and we have been blessed with one of the most wonderful stock market in the world. There are only two countries which are compounded stock markets. One is US, of course, and second is India so far. So I have 2 points to make. One is uh, the only way the way we have gone about in the past is because of relentless growth of 7 to 8%, and that has given to the market 13 to 14% kind of compounded growth in market cap. Now that has created a problem with the FIIs. FIIs today, they hold about 800 to 900 billion dollars of our stock, which is 16% of the market, 33% of the floating stock. In last 10 years, because we have done very well as an economy, our holdings, their holdings have grown at 3 to 4x, whereas my forex reserve has grown just about double, from 400 to 800 billion. Now we have reached a situation where forex reserve is just about 700 billion, and their holding is 900 billion. So their holding to my reserve is less than 100%. So how do we, because they're, they're very important, integral part of the entire system. How do we move forward from here in terms of this is there as a situation? We are doing very well. Growth is the only way out, and we are pushing the growth ahead. But when you grow at 7.5%, 8%, my corporate profits grow at 14-15%. And hence stock market will also grow at 13-14%. That will build their value of the current situation as it is to 1.5, 2 trillion in next 8-10 years. So do you see, has it been, I'm just flagging the issue the way it comes in my mind. So any comment on that?
But 70% of the growth is ours, while 30% is theirs. 70% is our growth.
Yeah. It is our growth only which is creating challenge for us.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think you've answered the question yourself in a way. Our own growth, our own participation in the market has really buoyed the stock market considerably. And as is the nature of the market, there are cycles when people make their profit, go out, come back, and so on. But not just leaving it there. Between the RBI and the government, we've done some analysis and come up with an announcement last week where the bond markets can be a very good magnet to absorb those capital which can come in, making it into FAR, so that the compliance routines are not going to burden people, and the withholding tax treatment which we've offered, we think will be the first step towards drawing some capital back, although we've at the moment confined it only to the bond market. But certainly that's not the end of the story. We'll be doing more. We recognize we need more foreign capital to come in, but the fact that RBI has the fact that the RBI has now allowed public sector undertaking and banks to go out and pick money from outside, giving them a framework in which they can do it. And in that framework, a very important aspect is the hedging is at the RBI's expense. They don't have to hedge for the risks, particularly the currency related risk, the volatility, the exchange rate risk. That will be on RBI. And as a result, the banks can now go unfettered to raise capital from outside. So we have taken a very calibrated approach to make sure that the markets do receive the required investments.
Another point. Hello. Yeah. Another point which is more positive is that because of there is a unprecedented capex boom all over the world, thanks to AI build-up, which is one of the largest build-out all over the world. Second is defense preparedness. Third is energy transition, and fourth is GCC boom in India. All these four are combining into massive opportunity, even to Indians. I mean, whether in various forms, and it will become even more. But some of these opportunities are very short-termish in character. Like it may be there 16 months, 18 months, 20 months. So we need to respond to these opportunities very, very fast. Some of the corporates I met, they said, sir, it is not about the demand. It is about how fast we are responding in terms of supply, whether it is from regulatory side, whether it is from permission side, whatever it takes in India to get them moving, because that can also bring a lot of forex. So they are saying it's a real challenge is supply side. Is it in the minds of the government?
Of course, in fact, we've been engaging with the states, not just the center to have a policy on data centers and GCCs, but also talking to the states to make sure they understand that these are going to be immediate job generating investments. I'm not sure if it is 15 or 16 months, but it is certainly going to be, at least in the coming decade, a predominant way in which data is going to be used. And as long as it is happening in India, I think it's good for the data security, and also in the process of creating the jobs, you will give a certain vibrancy to the economy. So states are coming up with policies. In fact, many states have come, and not just with the policy, they've been on their toes to meet up with people, get the GCC coming in. Earlier, I was in Bangalore yesterday. Earlier, it used to be just Bangalore, probably somewhat Hyderabad, and probably somewhat here in Noida or Ghaziabad. Now you have cities like Tumkur, Mangaluru, meaning tier 2 cities are also becoming hosts to data centers. And it is just spreading so quietly. Not till you get the data, let us say, from the CIA and FICIs of the world, you really see how speedily it is spreading. And people have not treated it as, oh, what is this? What's data center? No, there is a layer of our Indian technicians and also youth who are catching on this very easily. So I think the story about data centers and GCC is a story where, as you said rightly, how speedily are you going to capture that advantage, benefit from that challenge? And I would think the rate at which I'm seeing states respond to it, the story is a good one. It's going positively.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Ms. Sitharaman. I truly appreciate not just your making the time, but coming in this difficult personal situation. You're right, by the way, about GCCs. They have become the new miracle. We often used to say that India is too focused on the back end, low end work. These GCCs are replicas of the head offices of these companies. And we have 1,800 of them and a new one coming up every week. Actually, I said this to somebody, to a large multinational last week. And they said, no, it's not one a week. It's now two a week coming up in India. And this is a global consulting firm who actually looks at many of these being developed. So I think we have a unique set of opportunities ahead of us. And it is important that while we see many challenges, that we continue to focus on the positive, build those much more. In some sense, this is the path that China took, that don't worry about the problems, about the NPS, etc. Let's just grow the size of the economy, and that will take care of a lot of it. And for us, it is important, especially because of our large population. I think growth is the only true answer that we have to turning India into the India of our dreams. But our competition has to be with the entire world, and more importantly, our competition has to be with ourselves, that we are constantly getting better, we are becoming more efficient, we are becoming more productive, and we are deploying our capital where it will give both immediate returns and also long-term benefit. And I think that balance is being struck by allowing us to leapfrog a few stages through technology. And it's a delight that the Prime Minister yesterday had 400 startups in France from India with President Macron present. So I think this is now getting recognized globally, and our building bridges with the world, signing FTAs, starting more trade agreements, building financial bridges. You've now shared UPI with countries like Singapore. Who would have imagined this 20 years ago, that we will be sharing technologies with countries like Singapore? So that there's a clear shift taking place. And I think it is critical that while, of course, we have to address the challenges, but if we do them in this positive manner, the positive spirit, and focus more on the growth, I think we have a better chance of addressing our challenges as we go along as well. And I want to thank you for the guidance that you have been providing to the economy and to the industry, and the hand-holding that the government has done through difficult times. That's what we want. We want you to make easy regulations, get out of the way, but be available as a fallback option in times of crisis, as we have faced over repeat periods of time over the last decade, including the COVID was a complete black swan event, which nobody could have imagined, nobody could have dreamt or planned for. And you stood steadfast. You came to the support of the economy and the industry and the people, and you didn't get swayed even by our own request to give the amount of support we were giving, and India came out better for it compared to many other countries. So big thank you for what you do every day for India, and a big thank you for being our chief guest today and setting the tone for the rest of the day. We have a very hectic schedule. We've squeezed this two-day event into one day today as a response to the Prime Minister's call for conserving things, which is why you saw instead of the regular lamp, we've used LED as a lamp. So we're trying to signal to ourselves, to our entities, to people around us, that these things matter. Every little bit will make a difference, and each one of us does need to contribute. So thank you very much for coming in. Truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
What a forward-looking session to begin the Mindmine Summit with. I would like to request Shri Sunil Kant Munjal, along with Ms. Shefali and Ms. Swati Munjal, to present small tokens of appreciation from our side to the Honorable Finance Minister and to Shri Ramdev Agarwal. A big thank you to the Honorable Finance Minister for taking out time from her exceptionally demanding schedule to be with us this morning. I think her insights not only set the tone for the day, but has given us much to reflect on. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of everyone here, let's thank her for her leadership and vision. If you could please rise from your seats and extend a warm round of applause towards her as she exits the venue, and we bid farewell to her. And a big thank you to Shri Ramdev Agarwal as well for sharing his perspectives on the session today. Ladies and gentlemen, we request you to kindly settle down as we're just about to resume the proceedings for the summit. And while you do that, I'm sure over the course of the day, there'll be a lot to reflect and learn from. If you notice, there are these standees that are placed on each of the tables with a QR code on it. We would request you to please scan the QR code, which should take you to our LinkedIn page. Please be generous in sharing your learnings through the day at the Mindmine Summit on LinkedIn. But while you do that, please do not forget to tag us and use our hashtag Mindmine Summit 2026. We have Shri Sunil Kant Munjal back with us here. We had to cut this session out because the finance minister had to leave to attend to some pressing commitments. But we would like to resume this session along with Shri Ramdev Agrawal. Over to you, sir.
So you raised an interesting question, Ramdev, about ownership of India's economy by foreigners. On the one hand, we've actually been wooing this. We've been chasing FIIs, FDI, and you've raised an interesting concern that we are actually building our economy for the global ownership. So would you walk us a little bit through the pros and cons of this? Because obviously, it is also an advantage to get know-how, to get connections, to get knowledge, and to get resources.
Yeah. So, Sunilji, one of the things is that we have done brilliantly well. And since 2000, actually we got political independence in 47, of course. But we actually got financial independence in 2020. Because that's when my retail, thanks to digital infrastructure, they started coming 3 million customers per month. My demat accounts have gone from 40 million to 240 million. That started bringing tons of money month after month, almost 1 lakh crore per month. So that lifted the market big time. And that lifting of the market did a lot of good to all of us, but it also did good to the foreigners. And their $250 billion holding has become now 850, 900 billion. So whatever they sell, their holding actually keeps growing. It's like that, mythological thing. So आप कुछ भी कितना ही बेचो लेकिन वो बढ़ते आता है वो.